Another successful week. So I'm gonna start with this guy, A Reaper at the Gates. This one was interesting. I have not too much to say about it. So first of all, I'm just gonna get one thing out of the way. I didn't know this is Helene. I thought this was his mom, Karis. Helene started talking about like she had a hammer, and I was like, you know, the chick on the cover has a hammer too. And then I looked at it again and I was like, oh, that's Helene. So that means this is also Helene. I didn't know that. Let's zoom in on her. I thought this was his mom. Yeah. Anyway, that's not his mom. That's the girl that's in love with him. The problem is that Helene, I know she's blonde, but I keep on envisioning her with brown hair, so this didn't even like occur to me that it could be her. But anyway, Reaper at the Gates. I gave it a 3. It was okay. So much stuff happens in this novel, but it also felt like nothing happened, if that makes sense. Like, I know that's not objectively not true. Like, so many huge things happen, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like we're at the same spot. Honestly, this might have killed the series for me. I'm gonna say that. I feel like I know exactly what's gonna happen in the next book, and I'm not really interested in reading it. Here's what's gonna happen, okay? This is my prediction. This guy, he is going to somehow not be the soul catcher anymore and be able to marry her. And Mistress here, her nephew is going to eventually be the emperor, but he's like a baby now. So I'm going to bet like $500 right now that she ends up ruling the country for a while until the nephew is older. That's what I think is going to happen. And the Jinn, they already hinted in this book that like the Jinn, they've got a raw deal. So I think they're gonna get set free, they're gonna somehow live in peace somehow, and it's gonna be like a happy ending in the end. And like a lot of people are gonna die along the way, but that's what's gonna happen. If that's not how it goes, I will read it. Like if someone tells me that's not what happens, I will read the 4th book. Like until then, I think this is the end of Ember in the Ashes for me. And it wasn't terrible, it's just... Alright, one more thing about Helene before we leave, okay? Before we say goodbye. I forgot that she was basically Rapunzel, like a murder Rapunzel. I forgot about the whole singing healing thing, and it caught me off guard, and I was like, oh yeah, she could do that. I can't think about anything else to say, and the cat has joined me. Second book, Sorcery of Thorns. Much better book, okay? This is definitely a much better book. I give this one a 5. Let me put it down. Make space for it over here. This one I was honestly surprised by. I was thinking this is gonna be like a 3-star and it would be amusing, but it would just be like a regular, like a YA kind of fantasy book. It was not. So we have our librarian girl, and let me just say, the library is super cool. All the books are alive. They're grimoires, they're called grimoires. And they like talk to her and like move around to their personalities. Super cool. Also, the love interest in this book managed to do that like almost impossible thing that like many people try to do, but then they accidentally make him a huge jerk, okay? He was like kind of a little shit. Teasing her, he was very sarcastic, and she was very gullible, fell for all of it, and he was just like taking the piss out of her the whole book. I would actually place them in like my top 5 couples of the year. That list might only be like 3 couples long, but they're on there. This book also has like side character Ace Rep. The best friend of the main character is mentioned as having no interest in romantic activities, blah blah blah. So she's definitely aromantic. Unknown if the author has made the differentiation, like if she like knows that asexuality and aromanticism are different, but the best friend is definitely at least aromantic. Honestly, the friend should have got more screen time because she does a lot of stuff off screen and just like comes back with the results. She even had like a little, I don't know, conspiratorial relationship with the demon in this book, who I guess you could say is asexual if that applies to the demon. So it was like aromantic and asexual like conspiring with each other to like what were they doing? I forgot what they were doing. But, you know, to help the main characters along. And that happens all off screen. I would have liked to see that. We didn't even see them talk to each other, really. There were a couple things in here that had me raising an eyebrow. Like, first of all was the huge similarities between the main love interests and his demon and... What's the English of this? Black Butler, that anime. They were both like 12 and their whole family died. And then after the whole family died, they both contracted with a demon who became their butler. Like, are you seeing the thing here? They both traded away their lives for a demon to be their butler. Like, one is a black butler and Silas in this book is white, is like the white butler. I'm just happy there wasn't any Shotokan. I was definitely seeing those parallels, but thankfully the questionable parts were not paralleled. So I'm just suspicious and amused by the white butler, black butler thing going on. Second of all, there was another thing that was like, where our main character gets diagnosed with hysteria, which we all know is BS. But it was kind of like to illustrate how women are viewed in society. And the doctor was like, oh, you've read too many books. That's what happens when women read books. You know, their brains swell and they start acting weird. And I was like, sir, this doesn't seem realistic. Like, it doesn't seem realistic that a doctor would diagnose a woman with hysteria like this in this world. Because the librarians, so many of them are women. They spend their lives around books protecting everyone from the grimoires becoming evil, demonic things and killing people. Even like the high-ranking librarians, a lot of them are women. Like, where does that come from? Where did that come from? Sir, I feel like Margaret was trying to do something and then didn't think it through all that much, you know? There were actually a couple things like that in here, but the other ones, they fit better. That hysteria one did not fit. Like, you could say that maybe the guy who did it had specifically sought out a doctor who would diagnose her wrongly, you know? But like, the doctor actually believed it, and then other people actually believed the doctor, which did not make sense to me. Like, I could see one doctor being completely incompetent, but everyone else believing the incompetence? So yeah, that was strange. But otherwise, this was a really good book. Are you going? Go on. But otherwise, this is a really good book. The world was amazing, okay? The characters were fun. The girl, she's borderline really dumb, you know? But she has a reason that she's really dumb, okay? Because she's grown up in the library without, like, seeing the outside world. She's just a library girl. So I get why she's dumb. The whole system with demons needing to be put into servitude to be able to use magic, they're kind of on your side, but they're also waiting for you to die so they could, like, eat your life. That was interesting. Not necessarily unique because, you know, Black Butler, but it was interesting the way it was in this world, how they're kind of like integrated into the society but also not noticed. It did have a bit of a video game vibe to it, I gotta say. Like, in the end, I guess I can't really talk about it too much, but I was incredibly reminded of the final battle in Oblivion. If you know, you know, but I like video games, so it was good for me. It just seems like the author took a lot of time, a lot of love went into this book. You could feel it. And it worked. It really did work. It was fun. It had its graphic parts. It wasn't overly, like, sexy or anything. Could be a minus point for you. It was a plus point for me. Everyone had, like, a very unique personality. Even the demon, who was kind of, like, you know, flat and even-toned, kind of, like, unfazed by everything. Like, even he had, like, a very unique presence and really added to the story. There was a bit like a Dragon Ball Z moment that kind of like killed the impact of one thing, because, you know, I did realize it before it happened. I was like, we shouldn't be feeling sad right now. I know, but it does work. It works for the story, so I didn't hold that too much against it. It did like cheapen what had happened to cause that situation, but it also added a complication to like how you feel about this character, like where his loyalties lie, you know? So it worked. It did work. It wasn't just like a, you know, wave the magic wand kind of thing, even though there is a person who is kind of like the magic wands that gets waved. I will overlook that. Did I have any notes? I feel like I didn't take that many notes because I was just like so involved in reading it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the books that are like alive. If they get damaged, they turn into like monsters that try and kill people. So this is a minor detail that I like wish came true, but it never did. So I'm gonna say this. There are gas powered lamps throughout town, and she thinks they're magic. And the guy who's always like joking with her and like lying to her and stuff for fun, he's like, no, actually they're gaslight. And I was convinced that it was actually going to be magic, and he was gaslighting her. He was like, yeah, they're gaslight. But no, they were actually powered by gas. Very disappointing. Missed opportunity, Margaret. Absolutely missed opportunity. Okay, speaking of the guy, the love interest, always like gaslighting her. I do like the progression of this relationship. Like, there's parts, like huge parts in here where they're just like chilling. They're not even talking to each other. They're just like sitting with each other and like doing their own thing. I never see that. And it's not like an instant thing. Maybe it is on his end. It is on his end a little bit. But we're not in his head. You know, we're in her head, and she's not insta-lovey. So I love that. Anyway, final thoughts. Trying to keep this no spoilers. Really trying, okay? This book, this book, super good, okay? It's fun. Don't think about it too hard. If you think about it too hard, you will like see everything coming. I will admit that. But it's a fun read. I gave it 5 stars. I really don't have many complaints about it. I had those 2 small guys that were like tiny details that kind of messed me up. I was kind of skeptical about this book, and I was thinking like, oh, it's gonna be another you know, generic-y cookie cutter kind of thing with a love interest who's a complete jerk, and you hate him and you hate her, and like you like that they got together because at least they're torturing each other. You know, that was not this. They are torturing each other a little bit, but it's like fun torturing each other. I might consider reading the novella. I don't really think this could be like a second book. I don't even know what they would do for a second book because it's wrapped up pretty nicely. But the novella, let me see. Before I keep talking, let me check out the novella. I want to know if the novella takes place after this or is like in between. Nope, it's totally a sequel, and don't read the description because it will spoil the end of the book. I could see, oh god, I could see something in this cover too that will give away the ending, and it was something I was wondering about, but I can't talk about it because it's a major spoiler. So yeah, it's coming out in a couple weeks actually. I have to think about that. It's a little under 200 pages. I will think about it. I'll click want to read right now so I don't forget. It seems like a silly kind of sequel story, like nothing like what was in this book. It's just like a, you know, an omake episode. On a last note, okay, for a while I was wondering why it was called Sorcery of Thorns, and it wasn't until like halfway through the book that I finally got it. I should have figured it out a little earlier. But yeah, that's just me being dumb. Anyway, I gotta choose next week's book. Sorcery of Thorns. Going away. And what's the other one I read? Reaper at the Gates at the bottom. I gotta read this backwards in the... I hope I'm erasing the right one. Okay. Alright, I accidentally erased part of this, so I guess I'm reading that one next. What is it? Steel Striker. Alright, Steel Striker is kind of fantasy. It's not really. It's more sci-fi dystopia, which kind of puts it with Ocean's Echo, right? But this is really heavy sci-fi. This seems like fantasy. Darkrai seems like fantasy. This is, I guess it would qualify as sci-fi. So a Steel Striker as a half kind of sci-fi. Maybe it should also go with the other half sci-fi. So maybe I'm reading these 2 down here. A Steel Striker and A Girl with All the Gifts. And then I'll finish off the year with this one because I feel like I'm really gonna like this one. And I feel like this one might be a bit of a slog. I just have that feeling, okay? I feel like this one might be a problem. So I'm gonna do Steel Striker and Girl with All the Gifts, and then next week I'm gonna do this one first, and then Ocean's Echo. Okay, we got a plan. Let's see how long these are. I feel like these are both shorter. Yeah, Steel Striker is 384, so it's shorter. Girl with All the Gifts might be longer. Girl, yeah, because it's an adult horror fiction. So, actually horror is usually shorter, isn't it? Huh. It's adult. It's 461 pages, so yeah. I'm gonna read Girl with All the Gifts first, and then finish up with Steel Striker, because I know I'm gonna be scrambling to finish Steel Striker Wednesday night. I could feel it in my bones. I was scrambling to finish Reaper at the Gates last night. It was a little painful at the end. But I know that I'm gonna like Steel Striker, even though I could also kind of see how it's gonna go, but I can't see it quite as clearly as Shadow at the whatever. Was it A Sky Beyond the Storm? I feel like I know exactly how it's gonna go. Not entirely sure how Steel Striker is gonna go, but I just know general idea of how it's gonna end. A Sky Beyond the Storm, might as well have just written it at the back of book 3. Like, anyway, that's the plan. I will see you next week. I will have read this stuff. I'm really torturing myself with this, I know. But, okay, look, wait. Really drawing out this goodbye right now. It's so weird not seeing the whole screen filled up. Normally it looks like this. There's only 10 unreads in this library now. We're gonna get that down to 6. Let's do it. See ya.